The greatest part of the energy which we have stored for the use of our precious day is often gone before 10 o'clock in the morning. Not so with geniuses and successful men. They know how to work without waste of energy. In order to get the best that is within themselves, they learn to eliminate from their thoughts and actions everything which subtracts from their purposes. These lessons come to all of us, but with a big majority they go in one ear and out the other. The great man, however, learns that every event and experience of his life affects every other event and experience he encounters. He learns not to attribute a failure or success of this moment upon this moment alone, but to all moments of his life. I therefore say to you that tiredness and fatigue are effects caused by ignorance of nature and disobedience to her inexorable law. You may command nature to the extent only in which you are willing to obey her. You cannot intelligently obey that which you do not understand or comprehend. Therefore I also say, ask of nature that you may be one with her, and she will whisper her secrets to you to the extent in which you are prepared to listen. Seek to be alone, as much to commune with nature, and be thus inspired by her mighty whisperings within your consciousness. Nature is a most jealous God, for she will not whisper her inspiring revelations to you unless you are absolutely alone with her. Next chapter, we meet the artist. Any reader who has listened in on this conversation this long must be getting impatient to learn more about the life of this remarkable man. Therefore, we will give both you and Mr. Russell a rest while I take time to sketch the main outlines of his life and career. He was born in Boston, Massachusetts, May the 19th, 1871. He attended village school until nearly 10, then because of family reverses was put to work. He got a job as a cash boy in a dry goods store, drawing a munificent salary of $2.50 weekly, $2.50 weekly, and walking 6 miles a day to and from work. But down deep in his heart he knew that we all have the same promise of the unlimited help of the universal intelligence that guides all things. If we want it, we only have to plug into it with the master key of desire and trust. From that day his life has been one continuous proof and fulfillment of that faith. A musician from infancy, he secured a church organist position at 13 and entered art school. He has been entirely self-supporting and self-educated since then. When he was taken out of school and put to work, it did not make him bitter. In fact, he considered it one of the most fortunate things that ever happened to him, for thus he escaped encyclopedic educational systems of information cramming and memory testing, which filled other children's lives until they were 25. He used his precious youth to find out the secret mysteries of his inner self. His whole life has been used in the search for the real self and the relation of this real self to the selective universe of which he knows himself to be a vital part. These secrets, which nature whispered to him for the asking, have not only given him a deep insight into what he terms man the unseen, as genius or as deity itself, but have helped him to know her creative principles so surely that he began to follow them even in his youth with as rigid an adherence to the law which governs all creation as is humanly possible. When he was 15 years old and working his way through art school by means of a job that brought him $12 a week, the girl he was going with announced that the opera company was coming to the city to present a series of grand operas. "I want you to take me to the opera," she said. "That is exactly what I am planning to do," he replied. He meant that he was planning to take her to one performance, but she thought that he was going to take her to all of the performances. The cost for the entire series was $79.60, a sum that he had not anticipated seeing for several years. "The entire series!" he exclaimed. "That is impossible." "Did you say impossible?" she replied. "You are the last person in the world I would ever expect to hear say that word." He took her remark to heart. When the time came for the opera series to begin, he found himself standing at the end of a long line of people waiting to purchase tickets, with $6 in his pocket, but with absolute faith in his heart that before he reached the window he would have the $79.60 necessary to purchase the entire series. He stood in line all night in order to get a good place. In the morning a man said to him, "Sonny, would you like to make $5? "Yes, sir. How?" he asked. "By selling me your place in the line, so I can get to my office by 9, the man replied. Quick as a flash he replied, "I'll do better for you than that. Give me the money and I will deliver the tickets to you." Without even asking his name, the man gave him the money and his address, and he put it down in a notebook. Holding the money between his fingers and with the notebook and pencil in hand, looking like a bookmaker at the races, he became a magnet, drawing scores of people to him. By the time he reached the box office he had the amount necessary for the entire series for his sweetheart and himself, and $110 in excess, enough to carry him through months of school. The strange thing was that no one even asked his name or address. When one trusts this inner universal power, it automatically draws forth the trust of the people one deals with. One summer he took a job as a bellboy in one of the hotels. The salary was only $8 a month, but he was told that the tips that bellboys receive amounted to $100 in a season. When the first tip was offered him, however, something deep down within him would not let him take it. Stammeringly he said, "No, thank you, sir," and fled. He went down to his retreat in the cellar and tried to probe why that inner voice had spoken to him thus. Then suddenly he had a great vision. "I'll be the only bellboy in existence who never took a tip," he exclaimed, "and I'll be the best bellboy the world ever knew. I'll pledge myself to give the most joyful and cheerful service that a bellboy ever gave." From that moment he responded to every request with the alacrity of a steel trap. He ran his legs off for everybody. He got up at 5 o'clock every morning to procure cow's milk for a baby that needed special care, and then went back to bed again. When asked why he did not take tips, he replied, "I receive a salary and I love my work." The guests were simply overwhelmed by it. They invited him to dinner parties and yachting trips, and when the management explained that it was against the rules for servants to have social relations with guests, those people of influence said they would never go back again to that hotel if they didn't break a rule for him. So he had a wonderful summer. During his spare time he did sketching and painting. The guests became deeply interested in his work, and at the end of a season, instead of $100 from tips, he had received checks amounting to $850 for his pictures, and 5 offers of legal adoption in wealthy families, in one of which there were already 3 badly spoiled boys. The people to whom he brought ice water became his lifelong friends, and from them and friends of theirs he received many commissions for painting after he became famous in that field, and he went to the wedding of the baby he bought milk for. "I have absolute faith," he asserts over and over again, "that anything can come to the one who trusts to the unlimited help of the universal intelligence that is within, so long as one works within the law and always gives more to others than they expect, and does it cheerfully and courteously."